So what I've got a picture here is basically, two different skeletons. The one on the left is someone with a well-pronounced jaw, nice horseshoe shaped. And then number two is someone with basically a thinner face, someone that's going to have like a high arched palate. And one of the biggest things I want to talk about today is airway. That's one of the most important things when it comes to sleep. So if you look at the two pictures, 1,000 years ago, all of our ancestors had wide arches. And basically when you look at like the arch, okay, as my arch gets wider, what happens is my nasal cavity gets bigger. And so why that's so important is, about 200 years ago, Industrial Revolution, we started making foods that were a lot softer. We didn't have to chew like we did. The quality of our food went down as a result. So we stopped strengthening our tongues and jaw muscles like we once did from having to chew significantly in our day. What that did was it weakened our tongue. And our tongue, as we're developing as children, isn't doing what it once did as far as ensuring that I'm pushing on the roof of the mouth and making sure that the lower jaw doesn't fall down, that I keep pushing up into that jaw so that my face grows up and out, which is going to leave me with a wide arch so that my tongue can fit in it by the time I'm an adult. So this is kind of what led me into all this stuff with my own situation is, I wasn't breastfed as a kid. I had food allergies related to formula. And then as a result, I had swollen tonsils, adenoids as a young kid. And I became a mouth breather at a young age, and I never switched back. So by the time I learned all this stuff at 40, I realized that I had the upper jaw of a 4-year-old, which means I had the nose of a 4-year-old. So no shit, my tongue didn't fit my mouth. It's one of those things though that if my tongue can't fit in the mouth properly, I don't get a vacuum type effect to where I can breathe really well through my nose. And if I've got a small jaw and I've got a small nose, it makes it really hard for me to nose breathe when everything gets relaxed when I get into deeper levels of sleep. So what ends up happening oftentimes for a lot of people with sleep issues is everything relaxes as they get into deep sleep. And then as a result, they have a hard time breathing. And this is where people will either stop breathing completely or partially stop breathing. And then sensors go off and the body basically gets kicked out of a deep level of sleep and goes to a lower level of sleep. So if that's happening all night long, we end up waking up. Yeah, we spend 8 hours in bed, but the quality of our sleep sucks because it's kind of like every time you get into deep, restful sleep, it's like someone's waking you up. And they're like, hey, go back to lower level of sleep. And then when you get back here again, I'm going to wake you up. It's kind of like torture. So, obviously this is something where progression tends to happen when it comes to sleep apnea. And a lot of it comes back to our ability to breathe and a full-size airway, which most people nowadays do not have. It's just a matter of how bad is it on a spectrum.